All right, score prediction for this week. I have severe PTSD from the situation of Arkansas and Tennessee. They've mucked things up for us a lot of the times. I'm worried about it. My score, Arkansas 27, Tennessee 24.
Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studio for today's edition of the Sports Source. Crummy night last night for Vol fans and for the Vols as they lose at Arkansas 19-14. That was Mike Stoll on the Saturday. It's our Sports Source Saturday kickoff show yesterday. He picked Arkansas before the game. You might have heard him on this show weeks ago when Tennessee was running for how many 100 yards against Chattanooga and Kent State. He was sitting right here saying, "Still don't buy the offensive line. They don't look good to me." Tell you what, when it comes to offensive line talk, I think I'm going to start trusting Mike Stoll. So kudos to him, and we appreciate him. And if you haven't watched our Saturday kickoff show, you might want to watch it. I bet that made a lot of people mad when they saw VFL picking Arkansas yesterday before the game. One thing before we get into today's show, when we've got the scalpels and knives out, there is a danger in overreacting to anything after 1 week. Ask the media and fans at Alabama. A week ago, Kalen DeBoer was brilliant, genius. That thing's going to keep rolling. A week later, they lose to Vanderbilt. It changes quickly, and it certainly changes quickly in college football these days. 5 of the top 11 teams in the country yesterday went on the road and lost, and it would have been 6 if Miami doesn't have a 25-point comeback at Cal late in that game. So we'll try not to overreact here today, but we're going to get you through this defeat. As you know, if you've watched us over the last 22 years, we don't do funerals real well. It's going to be a wake. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. First segment brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. If you watch our show, you know I believe in working with local businesses. There's value in people who have their roots in this community. And folks, that's doubly true if you're looking for an attorney. Not only do you want somebody who's got a local history, a local background, local tie, you need somebody that knows the local justice system and the people involved in it. That's just an added advantage as you go to court. The Garza Law Firm's right here. You might see a lot of ads here in East Tennessee. They never show any shots of those people in East Tennessee. It's because they're not from here. Marcos Garza and his team are. The Garza Law Firm, garzalaw.com. We thank them for bringing you this show each and every week. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists today. Jimmy Himes is right here. Hey, we brought in Tyler Ivins from the bench. Thanks for joining us today. We found out late in the week that we were going to have a shorter crew than I expected. I was kind of shocked by that. Put in the phone call. Thank you very much for stepping in.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it. Josh Ward right here. VFL Will Overstreet right there. Mr. Raincloud, good to see you.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
All right. Vols lose 19-14 at Arkansas. The passing game continues to look woeful. The secondary failed its first test against a quarterback who can actually throw the ball. So, Will, I'll start with you. Top takeaway from that defeat last night.
Top takeaway is how bad our offensive line is and how little trust this coaching staff actually has in them. I just looked at it. Arkansas lined up with 5 guys, 3, 2, 6 guys in the secondary. So 5-man front, you have 5 offensive linemen. On those kinds of plays, they still kept in a tight end and a back and were running 3-man routes. That's just telling you, hey, listen, we don't trust any of you guys, it looks like, to win a one-on-one matchup. And against that defensive line, they just said, we don't have the guys out there to be able to block. Unfortunately, you weren't much better at your tight end position or your running back position at blocking on pass pro either.
Yeah, Bishop was used at a hurdle at one point.
Yeah, so it just right now, pass pro blocking for us is we are not at an SEC level in my mind.
We were talking earlier, Miles Kitzelman had an interesting play. Go ahead quickly.
Yeah, he had an interesting play. He was supposed to help Chip basically block on the outside, and he takes the step behind the tackle. The tackle ends up running into Kitzelman and getting picked, and the defensive end comes free. So just things like that were just seemingly just bad technique, bad plays, all those things. Pass pro right now is a mess.
The other thing, Sam Pittman brought out a 3-2-6 last night, and they would blitz the guy from the field side to try and prevent, that was their alternative to the run, their antidote to the run. You saw Sam Venables doing 3-3-5 the week before, stepping guys in there. You're going to keep seeing it until you prove you can stop it, and until you can prove you can do something against it. Expect Florida to throw the same thing at you next week.
Absolutely, because listen, right now they're saying, hey, Nico's going to have to throw to 2 or 3 guys, but we think we can get there with the front 3 or 4 and adding a guy in to stop the run. Hey, go at it. You're going to have to see it, and then they're going to make you beat them.
Josh, top takeaway. Takeaway? There you go.
Yeah, to keep with the offense we discussed after the Oklahoma game, well, the offense didn't need to do much in that game, and that was true. Tennessee didn't need to do much, but that's a good thing because Tennessee's offense can't do enough right now. They needed to do more. Not that much, actually. Tennessee needed 20 points to win the game and couldn't get there. So there's the offensive line issue. There's the lack of playmaking on the outside at receiver. That was a group that needed to be upgraded from a year ago. To this point, that hasn't happened with guys coming back and guys that arrived, and then Nico's playmaking hasn't been enough. So people are trying to figure out the reasons. There are multiple reasons, and it's added up to this point to be a problem offensively.
But those guys look really good against Chattanooga and Kent State.
That also was true at the time. Yeah.
Now, I will say this for all those who are like Nico stinks. When you had guys open against Kent State and Chattanooga, Nico looked pretty damn accurate to me. It's when you don't have guys open, Nico doesn't look as good. But Tyler, top takeaway.
I co-sign on already what Will and Josh have already said. I guess I'll step into the next category. Penalties. I mean, you've got already one of the best teams at converting on third downs. What happened whenever you line up in the neutral zone when you already have personal foul penalties? That's as good as a conversion, keeping them on the field. I had an idea yesterday that Arkansas was going to try to want to duplicate what Florida did last year in the swamp, just play keep away. Can't score whenever Tennessee's offense is on the sideline. They drain majority of the first quarter clock, and then when they still keep the ball, it looks like you're about to get them off the field, and then yellow. I know you listening and watching this show from the sidelines in the past, you guys frequently bring up penalties for Josh Heupel's team. When will they add up, or when will they come home to roost? Why don't you pick the Arkansas game last night? That was one where you could not afford to continue to shoot yourself in the foot, and it seemed to happen quarter after quarter after quarter.
First play of the game, you pick up 15 yards, legal man downfield, bring it back 5. Your offensive line kept kept stopping drives throughout the night, and then the roughing the punter or the running into the punter. Game changer. Jimmy, top takeaway.
Kind of a combination of what y'all have said. What I'm observing is this offense is not good enough to overcome a bad play. They had 11 possessions. 6 of them were stopped by either a penalty or a sack. And one reason they're not able to overcome it is they have, in my opinion right now, a pedestrian passing game. It's just not very good. Offensive line not protecting, receivers not getting open, Nico not seeing them, whatever it is, their passing game right now is not that good. And so when they get put in a 3rd and 11 situation or 2nd and 15, they have trouble overcoming that on offense right now. In particular against a decent defense. I'm not talking about the Chattanooga and Kent State. Against a decent defense, they're having trouble there. So I think the offense inability to overcome a negative play is hurting them.
Well, I do want to congratulate them, though, for beating Chattanooga and Kent State. I mean, in hindsight, that was valuable scheduling. It was valuable scheduling because here's the thing. Clearly, all that, that's how you get better. It's how you get those extra reps. That's what I hear. It's still so much value because, boy, imagine how crappy they would have looked last night if they hadn't played Chattanooga and Kent State and had all that improvement. Let me put up some stats here that we can discuss. Some stats that I thought were very interesting that stood out to me. First down yardage. So on first downs, Tennessee had 100 yards, Arkansas had 200. And we talk about getting into tempo. One, their tempo is a problem on the road anyway, but they really get into tempo when they get that first down. Okay, well, 4 yards of play, that's not going to get you into tempo a whole lot. Next, first down passing. You want to talk about not having confidence in an offensive line? They threw 6 passes on first down last night. 6. Arkansas threw 13. I think that tells you they don't want to get behind the sticks on first down and face 2nd and 20. Passing yards, 158 or 156 to 297. Look at this in terms of your receivers. Yards after the catch, 44 for Tennessee, 143 for Arkansas. There is no Jalen Hyatt who's walking through that door, as Rick Pitino might say. You don't have a guy who can catch a 10-yarder and take it 90. Penalties, there you go. Tyler brought that up, 10 for 60 yards. Sacks, once again, the other team gets more sacks than you do. 4 times. They get to Nico 3 times in the first half, basically the same thing Oklahoma did 2 weeks ago. If you want to fluster a young quarterback, that'll do it. Turnovers, well, Tennessee has 0 there, but here's the thing. That running into the punter, that's basically a turnover.
Yep.
And a game-changing turnover. And Arkansas, they had no turnovers last night. That's a team that had 9. What you got last night was the Tylen Green and Arkansas, and Sam Pittman said it afterwards. If we are even in the turnover game, we can compete with anybody in the country. Against Texas A&M, they weren't even. Against Tennessee, they were even, and they're pretty good. Anything else stand out to you on that?
The Auburn and A&M game, to add on to your point,
Yeah.
they were -5 in the turnover category in SEC play coming in. As Pittman and you pointed out, you stay even, you got as great a chance of anybody.
This isn't the first time. This is the second game in a row where their first down production's been poor. Against Oklahoma, it was 26 first downs for 52 yards.
Yeah.
And I think they've gotten, in large respect, so conservative with their first down plays. A lot of times just to run right up the middle. And when they're not clicking and getting a good gain on first down, it seems to slow the offense down.
Anything else to close out this segment?
I think the only other thing is you saw some things show up in your zone and your linebacker covering last day. I think they really picked that apart. That's something to watch again, because if I'm Florida, if I'm Alabama, all those guys are looking at this tape going, okay, we don't have to go deep, but we can get a guy across the middle doing some crossing routes, and if the linebacker's having to pick up, I think I got something.
It's always interesting to me, though, all it takes, if you're losing a big stretch of games in a row, all it takes is one win, and suddenly the rest of the season looks different. If you're winning, that one loss and all of a season, instead of looking at the season and people telling me 10-2, there's no way they lose 2 games. Now it's this team's not going to win another game all year.
There's not a lot of zooming out.
No, there's
during the
not.
season.
It's very much just and no one is paying attention to that Alabama Vanderbilt game. It's like, well, that's its own thing. I enjoyed it. That's its own thing. That has nothing to do with telling me anything that you can lose. We did a segment last week saying anybody can beat anybody. We ran the scores and we talked about it. And you saw it yesterday all over the SEC, and it bit Tennessee. Question is, can they recover? All right. When we come back, who was the best player on the field yesterday? What was the worst decision? Oh, I think I know where that one's probably going to go. And then also, biggest disappointment. We got all that. We got play calling to come. We got conservatism to talk about. We got offensive line, receiver, Nico. Tons more to discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Man, Nudura Concrete Forms, Culture Stone. When it comes to the top building materials in this nation, you know who carries them? A.G. Hines Company. Gordon Hines and his family have done a great job for generations, and they will continue to do it for generations. If you've got any kind of do-it-yourself project, trust me, folks, you need to start it with A.G. Hines Company. And if you start it there, you're not going to be going anywhere else, because you're going to see what so many others have seen over the years. These people have what you need, and they know how to help you get your job done. aghines.com to learn more. All right, 2 more members of the panel to unveil here. We got Sterling Hinton in to talk about Arkansas. So I guess you could say we're casting pearl before swine. And Chuck Cavaleris is with us right there. All right. We got a poll question today. Let's go ahead and put this up. And I shouldn't have put coaching on there, but I did. So I want to see what's second. It looks like offensive tackles. The question today is what's the problem with Tennessee's offense? The problem with Tennessee's offense starts with, is actually how I worded it, your options: the quarterback, the offensive tackles, the receivers, the coaches. Right now the coaches are winning. Offensive tackles second, then receivers, then quarterbacks. That's the straight opposite of Twitter. Do me a favor, get your smartphone, click that QR code, and underneath the Hearthside Bank logo, always in reach. We appreciate them bringing you this poll. Click that and play along with us. Tell us where you put the blame: coaches, receivers, tackles, quarterbacks. And if you don't do the QR code thing, you can go to sportsource.tv and /polls and play it that way. Thank you very much. I always like seeing how you tell us what goes on there. I'm going to start. We got best player on the field. Can be from either team. Tyler, you're the new one on this panel. I'll let you start. Who was the best player on the field last night?
It was obviously one certain edge rusher for Arkansas who decided when they would move him off of what it was an okay performance against Lance Hurd, but whenever you have, I believe it was Johnson last night, Jackson, maybe
Lance
I missed
Jackson,
Lance Jackson, thank you.
Yeah.
Lance Jackson,
right?
when he got lined up with John Campbell Jr., it became an absolute just murder, just a Halloween show, if you will. John Campbell Jr. has got some concerns. I know we can talk more whenever Mike Stoll's here about offensive linemen, but last night he was in the backfield all night. If you want to know, and the poll question reflects on how the tackles played last night, it takes one bad man to get inside the head of somebody, and that's how a game plays for the entirety. Go back and watch in the second half when he got shifted from one side of the offensive line to the other. It got bad more and more as the game went, and John Campbell Jr. was beat from the second the ball was snapped.
Well, can we go with more what I think is the obvious? Dylan Sampson.
That's where I'm at.
I mean, and it seems like it's been the case every week. 22 carries, 120 yards, 140 yards. He had the breakaway run.
138, I think. Yeah, had the 50-yarder.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Got
and
caught from
that's
behind.
the one you can count on.
Right.
It seems like every week. But it's like you run him, you run him, you run him, you run him. It's not there, it's not there, it's not there, and then he breaks one.
You better hope nothing happens to him because he's your offense right now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You go with Sampson
I'm
as
going
well?
with Dylan Sampson. I mean, and what I liked about what he did, I know there's been some problems inside blitz pickup, but he had a couple of great blitz pickup linebacker shoots doing things that won't be in his stat sheet that I thought were awesome while he was playing. So, yes, Dylan Sampson, he's complete out there.
I was very much surprised to see him get caught from behind. I don't think that happens a couple of years ago, but this offseason he did put on weight. He did bulk himself up,
Right.
I think, to be able to be more of a workhorse back. And I wonder if that impacted the speed a little bit because I don't think they catch him 2 years ago.
Well,
when we
the
first saw him.
DB did have an angle.
He had an angle on him, but I don't know that anybody
The
catches him a couple
DB,
years
the
ago.
DB has a name.
Yeah,
Anyway. That's where I was going to say, best player on the field? Nico Slaughter.
Yeah.
I think
Slaughter
I don't know
played
that he's the
well.
best player, but he does deserve
played
mention
well.
because he played well.
Absolutely.
His name was
Absolutely.
called again and again and again.
Absolutely.
He had a good game last night. All right. Worst decision.
Oh.
I have a feeling this could be really late in the game, like last play of the game. Worst decision.
Throw it.
The decision not to throw the ball.
Yeah. But a part of it is you're in that situation anyway, and you're going to say it's a red shirt freshman making his sixth start, but
Sounds
it
like you're
brought
saying
up
that.
all of the Joe Milton references, right? And I got to where I just didn't even respond to them. Because, I mean, you shouldn't even be in that situation, but even if your best hope is to get a pass interference, you still have to throw the ball.
Throw the ball.
But there's nobody open. He said there's nobody open. Well, they're not going to be open.
He said after the game the ball was also slipping out of his
Slipping
hand
his
when he
hand.
was trying to. Didn't look like it was slipping out of his hand in the video I saw, but maybe it was.
What I was hoping is that maybe Nico was also looking in the end zone and the clock was right there and he thought he can get out of bounds with 1 second left. That's what I was hoping. That's what I was hoping.
That's a
one that has history. That's the bad thing. You've seen that here at Tennessee before. It's the Joe Milton play. If Peyton Manning had done that at one point, nobody's going nuts. They're like, it's kind of like Peyton Manning. It was Joe Milton that did it, so it's like, this guy's Joe Milton 2.0. Your thoughts on not throwing it into the end zone?
It reminded me of the Ole Miss game where post-game after it was over and you got Kiffin inside the locker room, mustard and trash cans, sitting in the media scrum, and me being the person that has to go, hey, Josh, do you want Joe to put that ball in the end zone against Ole Miss? That day, Coach Heupel and I got about 5 seconds of death stares with each other until finally, I'd like to see that ball in the end zone. I have to imagine if Josh was asked that similar question last night, they'll say the
Well, they
answer.
did. They asked. I watched the post game, and it did come up. But I guess I will say this: at some point, you did have a timeout before that. Now, should you ever have to tell your quarterback, "Hey, this is the last play.
Right.
You need to throw
Right.
it"? You probably shouldn't have to.
Right.
But if I'm Josh Heupel, having had this happen to me twice now, I think the next time I'm in that situation, I do remind my quarterback, get rid of the ball.
yeah.
Did we have one timeout left in that
No, they
situation?
used
they
it. before
used
that.
it.
Okay.
They used
What
it
was
before
6
that.
seconds
Which-
left? Yeah.
Which also, that's another questionable decision. When Nico had to scramble on that first down play, and it's about a minute 3, minute 4 left.
Yes.
And they have timeouts. They got 2 timeouts
Right.
left, and they decide to let the clock run.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're saving a timeout, but you blew off 17 or 18
Yeah, I was
seconds
thinking
there.
20 seconds then.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have the time And I would have used the timeout there, I think.
So, especially in a situation where you were playing to the strengths of not having Taylor Green in the game for Arkansas. I can understand if you're trying to eat the clock and then all of a sudden Arkansas, you score the go-ahead touchdown, you give Arkansas a chance to come back and win the game or tie the game with a field goal, but you don't have Taylor Green running the offense. Then you have a backup running the offense, so it was really peculiar on how the time management was handled late.
Very quickly, we've got like 30 seconds total. Biggest disappointment, Sterling. Biggest disappointment from last night's game.
The loss, man.
No,
it was
no,
Black
you got to go
Saturday.
specific. What was
Black Saturday.
what position was most disappointing? to you?
Well, when they showed the end zone copy on TV, that's when I was able to watch it. I didn't see many receivers breaking open, and that's where I was concerned. And they ran a combination cover robber in the secondary, and I think we have answers for that. And so that's where I thought maybe more receivers could have come open, and maybe even a couple more quick screen passes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. And I've said that every year, I think.
The problem is you're keeping running backs in to block. You're keeping tight ends in to block. Because I was sitting there last night thinking, why aren't you more creative? Hard to be creative when you're having to keep everybody in to block.
Yeah.
So there is that. I had receivers but for this reason. One, and you kind of hit on it. The other thing, they kept showing Arkansas guys open. Well, if Green had seen this guy, that game wasn't as close. If Green hits two guys he had open with better throws, he missed one completely on the blitz. Early the first drive, if he hits the guy in stride on time, it's a touchdown. But they kept showing that. I don't remember them ever showing guys running open for Tennessee.
No.
I don't remember that. So to me, it's the receivers not coming open against what was coming in, the 14th ranked pass defense in the SEC. You went against a terrible secondary and didn't do anything.
Back-to-back games, no explosive plays. Nobody from the wide receivers is standing out, and this was supposed to be the coming out party. This is supposed to be, can we get cookies? Can we see a big playmaker? You got nobody ranked to the top 15 in receiving yards. This was supposed to be it.
Too at the beginning.
Yeah, you got them nicked during the game. You had three receivers.
Kind of late, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Brew and Squirrel
And
White.
can I give one more big disappointment?
Very quickly.
I thought Tennessee would make better use of the open date. I really did. I thought instead of going there and almost taking it for granted, you're going to win this game.
Yeah.
I thought Tennessee was going to make much better use of that open date.
All right, when we come back, Heupel's play calling, and it was all over the place yesterday. We've kind of touched on this. We're going to hit on it with both feet next. He looks like he's lost confidence in something in that offense. What is the something? Offensive line. We'll see. Come on back. We'll discuss. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the River Cove Campground. That would be Uncle Jim's River Cove Campground. This is a brand new campground, folks, up in Sevier County, ready for fall camping with all kinds of availability. Some of the campgrounds up there are already booked up. This is a new one, and man, it's loaded for bear. It's a new one, which means you can get in there this fall. It's right on the Little Pigeon River. It's 10 minutes from all the major attractions, premium RV and tent sites with full hookups and great introductory pricing right now. Learn more about Uncle Jim's River Cove Campground by it's hard for me to say, by visiting rivercovecampground.com. Check them out today. All right. Versus Oklahoma, with Nico getting hit and strip sacked twice, I credited Josh Heupel for getting conservative and getting the win. I still do. I think he did what he had to do to win. I didn't have a problem with it. Yesterday, I thought he looked flustered and discombobulated. I thought he looked like, well, we've made a conscious decision against Oklahoma. Yesterday, I thought it was like he was kind of, 1 minute he's running tempo. The next play, they're back in the huddle. The next play, they're doing tempo again. You get a 3rd and 7, you're in a draw with Dylan Sampson. Are you trying to score? Or are you trying to milk the clock? Yeah. I thought he looked to me like a coach who wasn't sure what the heck he can pull out of the bag of tricks right now.
Kind of grabbing at straws.
That's very much what it looked like.
Yeah,
And my question
that's what I felt.
It looked like a guy who doesn't have confidence in his offense, who's lost faith in it. My question is, and we've probably already answered it, is the one thing, I mean, I don't know that he's got faith in much of it right now, but does the loss of faith start with the offensive line?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like you said, when they're putting those extra guys in the box, when you really don't, you're not having that many more guys on their team, I think it's just an obvious sign that just says, I don't think, even if it's an equal 5-on-5, they're sitting there going, we can't win all of our one-on-one matchups. We're going to lose more than we're going to win. So they're keeping extra people in. So I think it's simply that or not just simply that, but that's the number one. If you had to rank it, what do I not trust? That offensive line right there is there. And then I think you look at it and you go, where are my wide receivers? Who can make a play? I think those are the two big concerns in my mind.
I think it starts with the tackles. And even though the tackles were there, I don't think they played very well. I'm not sure if they were 100% or not. But John Campbell did not play very well. I didn't think Hurd played very well. So I think that's where it starts. I think the interior is better than the tackle spot. And maybe Heupel feels like there's an issue there. But I also wonder how much he trusts Nico right now. I think there's a little bit of a concern about some of the decision-making with him at this point.
Yeah, the offensive line's probably affecting play calling and personnel choice, right? I mean, that's already been brought up too. But who you see on the field and how they're used is also telling us something about the offensive line, the lack of trust that a wide receiver is going to make a play, because part of the conversation has also been Nico with the football, and there has been time to make plays, and there aren't plays to be made from the guys he's trying to get the football to him.
Right. I expected you would see more called runs, more RPOs where he keeps – you don't see that. And I wonder if that is because they feel he's getting hit enough. I mean, sacked 3 times in the first half, folks, that's going to rattle you. That's going to make you uncomfortable, especially a guy who's still trying to figure out how much time he's got in the pocket in terms of his clock. What was yesterday, his 5th start, 6th start?
6th.
Okay.
Second on the road in the SEC.
Yeah, I wonder how much he likes road games now. Remember that silly comment over the offseason. But this is a guy that when you get him hit like that, I just wonder, would it help to use his legs occasionally? And they don't ever design it and try to do that. At least they haven't the last couple. You haven't seen much of it. Yesterday, I didn't see any of it. So I wonder if that's because he's getting hit enough just when he drops back to throw.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, and I know it's the road woes. We've talked about that, John. You mentioned that. Your 2 touchdowns less on the road.
Yeah. Actually, it's more than 2 touchdowns
more than
less.
that.
After the last 2 weeks.
You were scoreless in 3 of the 4 quarters. I mean, I think at some point you need to wonder, especially on the road, are opposing defensive coordinators and defenses just better than what you're bringing?
I've got an answer for that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later.
Okay.
An answer I think that works, and talk to a couple
Well, to
offensive
me,
linemen
I
who seem
think
to
Will
agree.
touched on it. I was kind of thinking, you take away the deep ball, even if it's like that old Tampa 2, and then I noticed how they were rallying with one guy coming up fast. You take away that wide receiver screen. Did you notice how fast they were trying to get somebody out there? So you're taking away what Tennessee does or wants to do. What's left?
You know, it was funny. They came out, so they started the second half. They weren't getting it out of Nico's hands quickly. They started the second half by doing those quick sideline passes, those first couple of drives.
Yeah.
Then that went away. It was like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. And I wasn't sure of why that went away. Did Arkansas just take that away?
I think they just didn't see. I don't think they had enough success at it. Probably, but I would have.
If you were picking up 5 or 6 yards, I'd keep doing it.
Yeah, I would have kept doing it.
It's a sweep, basically.
Yeah, it is a sweep, but I would have kept doing it some more. But I think that's their thought, is that they were trying to get a big play out of it, and so they weren't seeing 10 and 15 yards. They're like, okay, we got to try to find another big play.
Well,
I thought when Tennessee scored those 2 possessions in the second half that here they go.
Yeah.
They've got the momentum.
Right.
And then they would have a penalty to stop a drive or a sack to stop a drive, and they weren't good enough to overcome that. But I thought when they scored those 2 quick touchdowns that, I thought they were going to win the football game.
That comes back to Tennessee can't get off track, right? Whether it's
have to be
penalties or
perfect.
sacks.
Yeah.
Arkansas helped with penalties. They I think allowed 30 yards for Tennessee in penalties. So Arkansas gets pushed back. Tennessee's able to go faster. If Tennessee can't go with tempo because they're trying to collect themselves from a sack or a penalty knocks them back, the clock starts running down, that gets them off the tempo that Josh Heupel is relying on as well, which I know is coming up later too.
But that's a good point. The fact that on one of those touchdown drives you got in the second half, they aided you with 30 of the yards getting down the field. That's a very good point. All right. When we come back, let's talk about Nico Iamaleava. Some fans are saying he is a complete bust. That's the term, complete bust. Are we out? Is it time to, I heard, Jimmy, didn't you take, I was in my car for a little bit. I heard like one phone call and it was somebody calling for a quarterback change.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Is it time to bench him? We'll discuss that next. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. As summer gives way to fall and winter, ladybugs, stink bugs, box elder bugs, well, they know it's cold outside. And they look at your house and they say, that's a nice place to spend the winter. If you don't want them in your house this winter, if you don't want millions of their offspring in your house this spring and summer, then call and get the fall invader treatment from Southeast Termite and Pest Control. They were out at my house this week. I do that every single year, and every single year it works. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, folks, I believe in them. You should too. Fantastic, locally owned company. The Haynes family's been doing it right since 1971, and they'll go all over East Tennessee. Check them out online this week, southeasttermite.com. Okay, let's remind folks of the poll question. Let's see where we stand. Coaches still winning. I shouldn't have put coaches on the list. That's what happens when you make the poll question at 4 a.m. and you're half asleep. That's what you get. Offensive tackles, that's running away with it. So more so than the receivers and quarterback. If you take coaches out of it, offensive tackles are getting the biggest brunt of this, which is interesting because the emails I was getting yesterday and what I saw on social media, this is all Nico. Nico's a bust. Nico needs to be benched. Him and his $8 million. They can't sit him because he's got that money. Sterling, as a quarterback, what's it do to you when you get sacked 3 times in the first half?
Well, it hurts. You get sore real fast. But you got to figure out what's causing the sacks.
Well, no, come back. Let me ask you. Maybe it's nothing. I just know I used to watch Tom Brady a lot. And I'm guessing a lot of you folks watch Peyton Manning. When I'd see Tom Brady or Peyton Manning get hit 3 times in the first half, clock gets sped up. I don't think you look comfortable. That's why guys like Will here get paid big bucks in the NFL. So does it fluster you or no? Is that you shouldn't get flustered?
Well, it flusters you, but you never know what he's looking at. It could have been a delay in the route. It's a continuity with the receivers. You never know what causes the sacks. And sometimes it's just a great play by a guy like Will to get to you. You got to get the answers and. But it definitely hurts. I tell you right, you get sore real fast. You don't want to be too sore in the first quarter when you got 3 more to go.
Watching Hurd and Campbell yesterday, I think I know what caused the sacks. Yeah. But it also didn't help. I didn't think that you had a lot of guys running wide open. But, Will, let me ask you. You were a defensive end. You're looking at this. What do you see you looking at the offensive line licking your chops? Or are you looking at Nico saying, oh, look at him holding on to that ball?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
I look at both those things. I look at this as a great opportunity to get a lot of sacks because, one, you have a quarterback that holds it too long, right, and doesn't throw it away. So then when I look at that, I go, hey, I'm going to get an extra 1 or 2 seconds to go after this guy. Also, when I look at our offensive tackles, I go, Hurd, I'm rushing you from the outside because you're a little slow step off the edge, so I'm going to beat you off the edge. If I go against Campbell, I'm setting you up. 1 step upfield, and I'm coming back inside. That's how I'm going to beat you 3, 4, 5, 6 times because every time you looked at it, that's where he gets beat. So that's what I'm looking at. I got my game plan all ready for that group, and I go, hey, I come out of this game at least with 2 sacks. I got this.
You'd be making more NIL than Hurd or Campbell.
Well, I wish.
Josh, we were talking just a second ago before we started. You made a great point about Nico, and he looked kind of uncomfortable the whole second half. He looked uncomfortable to me, but specifically on that last drive.
Yeah, I mean, the last drive's an opportunity. He's just made a big play, so credit there. He's put them in a position where he spins out on the run and delivers the ball down the field. Yeah, that's why he's a 5-star, right?
Yeah.
But then first down throw is not what you want to Kitzelman, probably on the left sideline. Yeah. And then second down, he simply doesn't get the snap. And I don't think there was anything wrong with the snap. The ball fortunately landed in Dylan Sampson's arms where he's getting set to pass protect. Heads up play by Sampson. He has the ball in his hands, takes off, and picks up a few yards. But second down play, he just doesn't secure the football. The game could have ended right there. That ball could have popped out. Arkansas falls on it. And then, of course, 2 plays later, you have the ultimate mistake that's being talked about with no chance the ball going to the end zone. But a couple of plays there in the final drive where Nico has a chance to change this conversation and mistakes were made.
The bobble on the snap, Sterling, how much of that is him trying to look downfield before the ball's secured?
You got to secure the ball first. No play happens without securing the ball. And unfortunately, that happened. The blessing is that Dylan Sampson, being the incredible football player that he is, played football in that position and made a positive play.
He's looking at that defensive line going, where's this next guy going to hit me
Yes,
from?
that's what I'm thinking for. Thank you for the answer.
Well, I don't think I never thought like that.
That comes back
As
to the
a
offensive
quarterback,
line.
I never thought like
He's
that.
thinking about pressure that's coming.
Yeah, he absolutely is thinking about
He has to
pressure's
be.
coming. He's going, which of these guys is coming? And he's saying, who's on Campbell right now? 40? Oh, well, that's where the guys, I'm about to get hit on that side. That's where they're sitting
And
there
I think
going.
he's also, trying to figure, all right, where's it coming from, and where am I going to throw this thing? I got 3 guys, and none of them get open. Where am I going to take my Garantano helmet and the chest shot from? Yeah, I think he looked jittery there, bobbling that thing.
You guys really think he thought about that while the ball was en route to his hands?
I think
He's thinking about something.
I think he's
What do you
looking-
think he was thinking about?
he's looking
I
at
don't
his
want to
goal.
catch it?
And no, he definitely wanted to catch it. Just was a fluke play, I believe. That's what I believe.
Okay,
As a quarterback.
I think you see more of the. I didn't see that fluke play like that against Kent State. I didn't see that against Chattanooga. I see it when you've been hit 4 times by that point. That's when I see those kind of things.
And those are facts, but I gotta believe those are
Thank
facts.
you.
But no, as a football player in that moment, I don't think he was thinking about those things that you guys have mentioned. That's just my opinion as a quarterback.
No. There you go. As a quarterback. Let me ask you this then, as a quarterback. Do you think this is a guy who doesn't throw bad interceptions? He hadn't thrown really where you sit there and go, boy, that was a stupid throw. What was he looking at? He overthrew a guy for an interception at NC State. Another one was batted up when he was hit in the hand. That wasn't his fault. Is he too cautious with the football? Could that be leading to he's holding on the ball? I don't want to put it and get this thing in the wrong hands. That's a tight window. I don't know. Is there any chance, Sterling, that he's being too cautious with where he's going because he doesn't want to make turnovers?
And that's a possibility. That could very much be a possibility, John P. And and I always speak about this in every show. Offense is all continuity. Passing game is continuity. He's got guys out there that was playing yesterday. They hadn't had much playing time, many reps with. And in that moment, when they have a team like Arkansas playing very good football, in my opinion, I'm gonna take a sack before I take an interception.
Well, he's definitely doing that.
No interception, though, baby. No interception. No turnovers. A couple of seconds prior, no turnovers, and we were in position to potentially win that game because of no turnovers.
Well, that's the thing. You are at one. If Taylon Green hits a couple of guys, you're not in position. But as it turned out, you were in position to win that game. One throw into the end zone, you win it. Josh, I'll let you finish this segment.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's questioning why he was a 5-star in terms of his skill set. Has anybody seen anything that he can do physically and said, no, that was a misevaluation? I think that's right. His athleticism, his arm talent, all of that. But now you've had the loss. The numbers aren't there. Pressure can mount. Fair, not fair. The NIL stuff will come up in conversation. So that's one of the next tests for him, for Tennessee, is they have a loss. Margin for error is thin because of the playoff aspirations. So now part of what Nico has to deal with is some negativity that will come toward him and how he deals with that while they try to improve as an offense too.
Good point. All right. Next segment. This is fun. I've talked to a couple offensive linemen about that, including one who played last year. You might have seen him discuss it on our Saturday kickoff show. That would be Ollie Lane. When we come back, let's talk about Tennessee on the road. Let's talk about Tennessee tempo. Is this offense? Remember, a couple of years ago, Justin Hamilton, when they're tearing it up, he's saying, well, it's still a simple offense. Okay. Is it too simple when the tempo isn't working? Come on back. We'll discuss it. Back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Man, how about these October deals? G3 fishing boats. That's 2024 and 2023 boats up to $5,500 in rebates, depending on the model, if you buy before Halloween. Suncatcher pontoons, 2024, 2023 models, up to $5,000 in rebates, depending on the model, if you buy by Halloween. Hurricane deck boats, depending on the model, you got to get in there fast because they're running out. Depending on the model, you can get up to $15,000 in rebates, hurricane deck boats. There's a reason I say it. Madisonville Marine, there's no better place to buy a boat. Okay, going to be quick here. I'm going to throw out all my thoughts and let you just take it and say, stupid. I've talked to Ollie Lane about this on our Saturday show a couple of times. Talked to Mike Stoll about this with an offensive line perspective. Tennessee doesn't do well on the road. We know they've had some issues when it's a loud environment. You go into a neutral site, no problem. They still score big. When they go in a loud environment, they have issues running at their normal tempo. And as you saw yesterday, when you're snapping the ball at 30, when you see normally when they're at tempo, when they're snapping the ball at 34 seconds, and then yesterday they're snapping it at 23, 24, 22, it's allowing the defense to do what?
Stem,
shift, adjust. Move. They don't do that otherwise. So when you're not in tempo, the defense is not being dictated to. Now suddenly, the defense is dictating to you.
Right.
Okay, so to me, that's the difference in this tempo thing. And when you look at them as a whole, you're going to get more of that on the road. But it also comes back to now, let's see how much tempo they got at Florida next week. If you're not able to get big yardage on first down, and when you're only throwing on first downs 6 times a game, you're not getting those big plays that you used to get with Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman and those kind of guys. Is it the play calling that's slowing that down? My question is this, though. Is this offense too predicated on tempo? Is that the thing that makes it go? In other words, is tempo 90% of this offense?
Yes.
Justin Hamilton said 2 years ago, this is a simple offense, and it made people mad. How can it be simple? It's so effective. It's simple because it's spacing and it's tempo. 90% of the offense is tempo.
I think that's where you find the most success is with their tempo. And as you mentioned, and maybe this might be too far down the line, and if I am, I know you'll pull me back, Jimmy. How much of this do you believe the conservative approach, like we saw against Oklahoma last week, the struggles we've seen in the past on the road, have so much to do with because of the crowd noise and elimination of tempo? I don't think that Josh Heupel immediately goes, okay, home game this week, we're going to be able to do the we're going to be able to stretch and do the speed and the up tempo that we're used to seeing because home crowd advantage, all the things when it comes to the helmet comms compared to a road game where these are some of the big adjustments we have to make, and because of the big adjustments, well, crowd noise is going to keep us. I mean, look at Lance yesterday.
Well, you're lying.
You move one guy over, false start 5 yards. It seems like there was an agitation because you're not able to get down the counter and the cadence.
Yeah, and your line's not – obviously there's an edge there that you're sitting on.
Right.
In terms of, okay, we can't just fire off the ball the way we normally can. We all got to get on the same page and make sure nobody jumps here and gets the false start, which they do constantly. I just think all of that slows that tempo. And I think that's what what impacts this offense. You don't see a lot of eye candy. There's not a lot of flash and trash and stuff with this offense. You're not seeing, it's not the old Steve Spurrier where you don't know what's coming at you in what formation. It seems to be, well, we got tempo going for us and the spacing. And if you don't have tempo, I don't see much.
I saw a lot more eye candy 2 years ago when Hendon Hooker was there. The thing about the tempo, and I think the tempo is a huge part of this, I think there are two things that screw up the tempo. One is when you have penalties. Okay. The other one is when you have sacks. But the other thing that bothers me about the tempo is Tennessee's first down production has not been very good in either one of these road games. You averaged 2 yards on first down against Oklahoma. You averaged, 4 against last night against Arkansas. I think they got to be more creative, more aggressive, and do a better job on first down play calling to get into their tempo. And I think that's what slowed them down a lot. Now, against Florida, I think they're going to go faster at home, but not if they have a penalty or not if they have a sack early. So I think a part of this is related to lack of first down production and self-inflicted wounds.
You saw a lot more. I mean, I'll just go back to Jalen Hyatt. You remember how many times Justin Hamilton broke? I keep going back to him. How many times they would put Hyatt on, oh, look, there's the guy we want to put Hyatt on. Put him in motion over to this guy. Oh, wait, yeah, he's over here. Hyatt in motion over here. How much motion do you see out of this offense these days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times are you seeing them roll the pocket? I mean, you're getting him under pressure. How many times do you roll the pocket? How many times are you calling run plays with Nico right now? It just seems like, well, we got tempo or nothing.
And why are they not doing that?
I don't know.
How much of this, and it was mentioned earlier during the show, how much of it has to do with this? This offense has to be perfect. No penalties. If there's any type of disruption, maybe Josh said it, maybe Will said it, but if there's any disruption whatsoever, it throws the drive completely off.
It does this year, but in 2022 they could get away with it.
It did last year too, though.
Well, and you had Joe Milton.
Yeah.
So I keep going back to 2022.
Yeah, well, exactly, yes.
When you had Hendon Hooker quarterback.
Here's my question. When you look at Heupel's numbers over the years, last year looked to be the aberration. But 2022, if this year looks more like last year, and 2021 was good, but not 2022, are we going to come back here and say 2022 was the aberration?
We might.
I mean, because instead of last year was here and everything else is here, now we're looking at it as, well, everything else is kind of here, but 2022 was there. it changes your perspective on that a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. One thing I want to look at, and I felt this from the beginning, when people were talking about Nico being a Heisman Trophy candidate, which I thought was silly. I thought maybe next year you might be able to have that conversation. So
Yeah.
next year, let's see if he can have the jump that Hooker took from 21 to 22. And that's when I think you might see the offense be more effective against good defenses. But right now, against good defenses, they've not been very effective.
And I wonder if part of it, we got to go, but I wonder if part of the reason they're not being creative is how creative can you be when you're having to keep your tight ends and running backs in the block? So there's that. All right, when we come back, a big boy rapid fire segment. 4 tough questions coming at these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to save a lot of time. So come on back, bring your stopwatch. Welcome back in. This segment of the Sports Source brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Did you know the color of your roof can save you money? Did you know the difference in heating and cooling costs between metal roofs, asphalt shingles, and tile roofs? Call Daniel Hood Roofing this week to discuss the best ways to get a new roof that will actually save you money in the long run. DanielHoodRoofing.com to learn more. Let's take a look at our final poll results. Coaching wins it. Coaches win, and then second remains offensive tackles. Then it goes to, is Nico second on that list of more than receivers? Seems to me from here.
11 to 5.
You
Yeah, there
think
you
the
go.
coaches feel like they won?
Yeah, the coaches have been the big winners. Congratulations. All right, so thanks for playing along. We always appreciate that. All right, rapid fire questions. This is where we get back on top, I hope. Josh, you get the mean one. What was the bigger waste of NIL?
Go to Jimmy.
What was the bigger waste of NIL dollars so far? The money spent on Nico Iamaleava or the money spent on offensive tackles Lance Hurd and John Campbell?
The tackles. The money difference isn't that great. Nico's making a lot, so are the tackles. Nico has brought maybe some extracurricular. He's brought attention to Tennessee. Recruiting, I think, benefits from the excitement around him. All of them need to play better, and they would agree with that. If you ask them, we need to be better. But if we're talking about the tackle issue, like they challenged the coaches in that poll, which is not easy to do.
Yeah.
So I would say the tackles over Nico.
Well, and also the tackles impact Nico more than Nico's going to impact.
Yes.
They can make him look bad. He can't do much to make the tackles.
If they're
look bad.
better, so is he.
There you go. Tyler, most of us in the media and a whole lot of fans bought into UT's pass defense after September. Well, they look faster. They can tackle better. In hindsight, were we more wrong to buy into the vaunted pass rush or the improved secondary?
The improved secondary. You liked what McCoy has given you since his transfer over. You like some of the different looks that Boo Carter has given you. I still have faith in this pass rush. I think that last night, you need to give credit where credit is due. Sam Pittman is still a mastermind when it comes to how his offensive line performs. And I think last night that they had a scheme cooked up to keep Tennessee and Taylor Green off his backside for majority of the game. So to me, it's more the secondary than it is that pass rush.
I'll challenge you and disagree. I'll go pass rush because I never bought into the secondary. I did buy into the pass defense.
Well, if you've got stock in one, then you
But
can't sell.
Yeah,
Yes.
you've bought into the pass defense, but the pass rush is supposed to be something. You went into last night's game 15th in the SEC in sacks. So we
Right.
can talk about quarterback hurries all we want. They don't get the quarterback on the ground. And that includes the greatest player in college football, James Pierce, who now has 1 sack on the year because you add up his 2 half sacks and you get 1 hole through 5 games. So I'm going to go pass rush. All right. But you're probably right.
Did you
I'm
pin
just
into
trying to
your
be
own
mean.
question, by the way,
I'm just
John?
trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be mean. Jimmy, Tennessee committed another 10 penalties yesterday, ranging from personal fouls like low, late hit on Taylor Green to running into the punter, which was monstrous. Are the high penalty numbers year in and year out a growing concern regarding Heupel, the coach? Discipline.
Can I get your answer first?
No. That's the point of this.
Yeah, it
I get
is.
to come back and correct you.
It is a growing concern. It's a growing concern in close games, and last night was a close game. That the penalty on the roughing the punter where they slapped him upside the helmet, some of the illegal procedure penalties on offense that stymied drives, just a variety of those things, it makes it, the margin for error is much less when you are having those penalties. And so, yeah, it can come back to bite you. Now, I remember years ago, Miami led the nation in most penalty yards, but they also had the most talent and won a national championship. This team is not as talented as what Miami was years ago. So, yes, these penalties are a concern. They need to be more disciplined, and I would start with head coach.
I agree with that, and the main reason is before we've talked about this forever. Well, it's a lot of false start penalties with this high tempo. These aren't just false start penalties. You're seeing a lot of personal fouls this year. You're seeing running into the punter. You're seeing an offensive line getting too far downfield. You're seeing dumbass mistakes that beat you. So you just have to get the question right, and I'll agree with you. All right, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
NFL teams are built around 5 positions: quarterback, number 1 game breaker receiver, left tackle, shut down number 1 corner, and an elite pass rusher. Does Tennessee have anyone at any of those 5 spots that you would call elite this season?
Not so far, really. You thought you had the pass rusher, right? But as it's played out, 2 half sacks. Even though I thought it was really a whole sack, John. I didn't think it was a half. I thought it was a whole.
I thought I looked at the numbers last night, it was a half.
Stat-wise, it was a half. But no, I mean, you don't. I don't think you do at any of those. Now, you may develop it. You may have it, and, maybe by the end of the season.
Maybe Nico at some point in his career,
Right.
but not right now.
But not right now.
You certainly don't at receiver. You certainly don't at left tackle. And you certainly don't, well, McCoy actually had some guys covered last night, and the passes were good. I still don't know that he's a number 1 shutdown corner, though.
I don't either. I think he's pretty good, but maybe not number 1 shutdown corner.
Pro Football Focus thinks that he had an okay game last night, but again, one publication.
They've already got their
Well,
grades
you
up.
know,
From what he's done this season and what he
Oh,
did
from the
last
season.
night, yes.
I didn't realize they had last night's grades up. Okay, good deal. When we come back, I still won't say elite. When we come back,
Fair.
we haven't done it in years, but how about a little Sunshine Sterling head-to-head with Willie Raincloud? What are the 3 things you can build on? What are the 3 things you can't? Fans have been clamoring for it. You want it, we give it. 3 up, 3 down. Next. Welcome back. This segment of the show brought to you by Safety Systems. You know Safety Systems, security systems, but they also are the kings of home automation. Doors that lock when you push a button on your phone, climate controls on your tablet, music systems on your phone. You can control your entire house, lighting, everything right there in the palm of your hand. Safety Systems can set that up for you. They've been doing that for years. It's finally time for you to get up to speed in terms of what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing it. You should too. SafetySystems.com. Call VFL JJ Surlis this week.
Sunshine Sterling. Willie Raincloud. It's time for 3 up, 3 down. This is the Sports Source.
I've missed that. It's been a few years. That was the old set.
I know.
Yeah, the old set.
I love it.
All right. Hey, before we go, by the way, I'm looking at the stats, the live stat broadcast last night. UT posted up. Arkansas had them up. Pierce had a half sack. I got other guys saying now that UT later in the night put out their official stats that had Pierce with a whole sack. So James Pierce may have a sack and a half on the season, which to me still isn't elite. Okay, 3 up, 3 down. And what we're going to be looking at, 3 things you can trust on. We got Mr. Positive here, Sunshine Sterling. 3 things that you feel confident in that you can build on moving forward. Okay. Real tangible things for Tennessee that you can build on moving forward.
Well, I think we can build our trap blocking scheme because every time we've done a trap block and handed the ball off, we did getting punches off the ball. I mean, that one play when Dylan broke it to the outside and got a big 50-yard run, that was of a trap scheme and the guard pulling because we could build on that.
Should they be doing more of that?
Well, I think we can because we can run a lot off it. We can set up for a lot of other plays off that action. So that action is something that we can build off. Absolutely.
Okay, there's one. Yeah. You got what's your second one?
I want to get back to our quick screen game. Get on the perimeter. We can get on that perimeter game. Expand that because maybe we get those guys that are just staying inside that start stepping out some more, and maybe we can get some more throwing lanes to get the receivers open on the crossing routes.
They started the second half with that, and it's like, it didn't go 50 yards, but you're picking up 5 or 6 yards. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Third thing, we got to bring it back. You talked about it last segment with Hendon Hooker, what he did in 22, quarterback sweeps. I mean, Joe Milton broke one for 80 yards last year. And if they're going to play us with 3 and 1 or 3 and 2 in the box, we can get on the perimeter with the quarterback running the ball, and I think that's by alignment that gets us 6 yards on first down.
Are you surprised they haven't run Nico Iamaleava more?
Well, I'm surprised they have it more, but I think with his ability to run, I think we will start doing it more.
Is there any chance they're not doing it because he's taking enough hits when he's dropping back to pass?
Well,
Does that play into it in your opinion?
Could, but I'm hoping that he's healthy and can do it. Let's rock and roll.
Okay. Very good job. Excellent. Because you got the much easier assignment. Will is going to be telling us 3 things that, like, if you're an opposing defense, that you are looking to exploit. What are the top 3 easiest things to exploit?
Exploiting the tackles that we talked about. I've already got my game plan. Hurd, I rush outside on. I put pressure on him on the edge. He's a little bit slow off the ball. On Campbell, I'm working back to the inside. I'm gonna get off a couple of times and beat him clean 3 or 4 times to the inside, so you'll have 3 big plays right there.
As a defensive end, are you looking at their footwork at all? Mike Stoll despises their footwork.
Yeah,
It drives him
I've looked at
crazy.
their forward. Like Hurd, like I said, is slow to get depth and get out wide on you, so you can get a tight edge on him and get to the corner. And then Campbell's oversetting to the outside several times. Guys were spinning back inside, taking the one-step field, going back inside pretty clean. So I think those 2 guys, that's how I would work them if I was playing them.
What's the second thing that you'd be?
Obviously, you're going to see a lot more of a 3-2-6 kind of setup, right? You're going to have 6 DBs out there, 6 guys in coverage, and you're going to say, hey, Nico, can one of these wide receivers get open on us, and can you find them in time before our front gets to you? I think right now as a defense, you're looking at this going, guys, guess what we're putting in this week? If we're playing Tennessee, this is our defense. We're going to run this a lot. And I think you're going to see that. That's what these teams are going to start looking at and saying, till you got something to beat it, you got to show it to us.
Last thing.
Yeah, I think the last thing is I look at this, if I'm the defensive guy, I look at this as a much different when I'm playing Tennessee at home or away. If they're playing at my place, I feel like, hey, this is not going to be a high-scoring game. I have a few more chances to take and some things to do. So I think I play this team differently based on if I'm playing them in Knoxville or not playing them in Knoxville.
3 up, 3 down, sunshine, Sterling, Willie Raincloud. Love it. Thank you, guys.
We're back
Excellent
at
work.
it, baby.
When we come back, we got a quick version of Will They or Won't. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things, home theater seating, bars and bar stools, kitchen and dining stools to go with pub tables. Games and Things has it all. And you've seen their bars, their pub tables, their poker tables, their stools if you watch our Saturday kickoff show, which you should be watching. Games and Things can make your home the entertainment hub of your neighborhood. Games and Things. All right. Time for a very fast version of Will They or Won't They? And instead of having our guys, our VFLs, there's only 2 VFLs today. So instead of standing, we've got them seated. They are seated over there. There they are. All right. So we're going to be really quick here. 4 questions for you. Will they or won't they? First, entering yesterday's action, Florida had the worst pass defense in the SEC. Nico Iamaleava has averaged 178 passing yards per game versus the 4 Power 5 teams he started against. Will Nico Iamaleava throw for 215 yards versus Florida's awful secondary? That would be his best day at UT versus Power 5 teams. They both say yes, he will. Reaction from the rest of this panel?
Yes.
Everybody thinks he's going to throw on Florida?
I think that's a low number, too. I think he's going to have his best game at the University of Tennessee, and that's not me just being ha-ha right now.
Disagree. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
What do you, any reaction? Where are you? Quickly?
Below.
Okay. Josh?
Below.
All right. Mr. Positive, Sunshine Tyler. All right. Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson has run for 130-plus yards versus NC State and Arkansas. Florida's rush defense is near the bottom of the SEC. Will Sampson rush for 140 yards versus Florida? That would be his high water mark of the year, and you guys say yes on that one. Well, the positive, but Will is no longer the rain cloud over there. Here's the thing. I think Dylan Sampson goes big because they can run on this team. I think they'll wind up running all day. I don't know that they'll try passing much. They may want to, but I'd count on their run game. All right. Tennessee has recorded 9 sacks through 5 games, which puts them near the bottom of the SEC. Florida has only allowed 5 sacks through 5 games. Will Tennessee record at least 2 sacks against Florida? We got a yay and a nay. Now they're playing to their character, playing to their archetype. All right, so any reasons?
I think we hadn't had the production, right?
Yeah.
So I don't count on the production in this game showing up.
Sterling?
I think the steam in Neyland's going to be so hot, baby. Our boy's going to be juiced.
Perfect lead into my last question, which is a little unusual. A couple of weeks ago, Danny White announced that ticket prices at UT would be going up next year to help pay players. With that in mind, coming off this loss, will Vol fans boo their team if the offense struggles against Florida? Yeah. Sterling says, no, that would never happen, though it's happened many times before. Will, you think the boos will come out if they don't look good?
Absolutely. I think if you struggle in the first half and you start sputtering and you're not doing what people think, and you're not putting up points against what everybody knows is a low point in Florida team, I think you're going to hear the boo birds.
I do too, because at this point it's a build-up thing. It's like you didn't look good against Oklahoma, you didn't look good against Arkansas. Do they boo if it's bad?
Yes.
It's the opponent, absolutely.
If they struggle, yes.
Boo the play calling if they struggle. That's what I think they'll be booing.
It's going to be a.
You can boo the players now. They get paid.
If
you haven't noticed, we were a little rougher on the players today than we normally are. Why? They're paid. They're pros.
If that's Kentucky on the field, maybe not as much because it's Florida, the rivalry, the boil point, yes.
All right, when we come back, we'll play Beat the House. Chuck is going to set the line for Tennessee, Florida. Where's he going to put that thing? To split the panel. Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Pipe Wrench. A couple of years ago, I had a kitchen sink that kept backing up on me, so I got real smart. I watched a YouTube video and I got a plunger, and it made the whole situation worse. You know who made it better? Pipe Wrench. They came the same day I called. They fixed the issue, and they were kind enough to not even mock me for following the fix-it instructions off of YouTube. Pipe Wrench. You can call them. They will take care of you for any drain issue, any plumbing issue, any heating issue, any cooling issue. PipeWrench.com. Let's take a look at the Beat the House standings here as we race to the finish line. Bob Hodge, big bet last week. He has now moved into a first-place tie with Daniel Hood. Although I'm going to it's a kangaroo court. I'm docking them for not being here today. Marlon Walls is at 925 because he bet a crazy number early. Sterling, 850. I'm at 800. That won't last. Mike Stoll is at 750. Jimmy, you're out of the basement at 700. And then the two guys who took UT last week, and the line here on the show was UT minus 23.5. So that was a big miss yesterday. Only $50, but Will and Josh moved to the basement. All right, Chuck. Buddy, be quick. 30 seconds for a line.
Hey, yesterday there were all kinds of rumbling when DraftKings came out with the Tennessee line as Tennessee minus 20.5. And people were wondering if that was right. I've also seen it 10.5. So and we talked about that Florida, especially, they're ranked 200 nationally in a lot of stats.
That'd be tough. There's only 130 schools.
Right. I'm going to make it Vols minus 18.5.
Okay. Bob's not here. Daniel's not here. Marlon's not here. Sterling.
18.5.
No problem.
I don't think we split the panel today. We'll see.
18.5. Well, I'm going with the Vols on this one. I'm going with the Vols. I'm just going with Vols. Let's put 200 on it.
Somebody feels the team needs love.
Hey.
He's doling it out. He thinks they're watching. All right. Nah, that makes me next. Dang it. I'll go Florida, and I'll go 100. Jimmy Himes.
Florida, 200.
Okay. Will Overstreet.
Florida 200.
Did I say 100? I meant Florida 200. Josh.
Yeah, my new policy, I follow Will when he's rain cloud Will.
That's a good policy.
So I don't have as much confidence, so I'll say Florida 100.
Florida 100. Okay. You're
also
following
don't
me,
have as
which
much
means
money.
you're following me, which means you're really in trouble. Okay, we got about a minute here. This Florida game, now it could be a product of their schedule, but I don't like the fact that right now it looks like you're getting worse and they seem to be improving a little bit. Considering the history of Florida and Tennessee, I don't like this game anyway.
It doesn't matter. To me, it's like when we play Kentucky, I'm going to pick Tennessee to beat Kentucky. I don't care if they've got Brett Favre and the rest of the Green Bay Packers on the field. Against Florida, I just look at this and go, we're probably going to struggle. We're probably not going to have a very good game. They're probably going to play their best game of the year. Yeah. That's what normally happens. Yeah. So I look at that and go, that's what's going to show up.
Kind of what Taylor Green did to him last year. Yesterday he had his best game of the year yesterday against Tennessee. Jimmy.
I don't know that the tackle issue gets fixed whether you're at home or on the road. And I do think Tennessee's having a little bit of trouble confidence-wise on offense. So I don't see Tennessee scoring a ton of points against Florida.
I wonder about Nico's confidence at this point,
yes.
Especially after that play to end the game. That was a bonehead play, and he's going to catch heat for it. You wonder how that's going to impact. We're in a new world. These kids are getting the NIL dollars, and now they're going to get more heat than they've ever had.
Maybe Heupel knew what Pittman said, and hey, our team doesn't have confidence.
That's right. It worked for Arkansas when he said it about his quarterback. That's right. All right. Jimmy, Tyler, thanks for coming in here and filling in admirably. Good job. Josh, Sterling, Will, it was good to have you guys do 3 Up, 3 Down again. Chuck, as always, thank you, sir. Thanks to our crew here at WATE. Thanks to our sponsors who bring us every week. Thank you. We're not here for 22 years if not for you. Thank you. We'll see you next week after the Florida game.